Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part podcast, you have Dick's Sporting Goods to buy a Footlocker for $2.4 billion, which is quite a pretty penny to say the least. Now this is brought to us thanks to Savatia over at Reuters. There you can see one of the cliche sporting goods section of the Dick's store. In this case, all the overpriced clothing from Vietnam, though I'm sure it's probably moderately comfortable. Now they say, quote, Dick's Sporting Goods has agreed to acquire smaller rival Footlocker for $2.4 billion. The second major footwear deal this month after the buyout of Skechers as retailers navigate choppy demand and global trade uncertainties. The $24 per share offer announced by both companies represents a, geez Louise, this is comical. It represents an 86% premium to Footlocker's last close and gives Dick's a stronger foothold. Not sure if that was a pun intended, but it should have been. In the sneaker industry with over 3,200 stores and an entry into international markets. The combined company could also benefit from better negotiating power with key vendors such as Nike and Adidas and Puma. At the time when the Trump administration steep tariffs threatened to raise supply chain costs for U.S. retailers and discourage consumer spending. You have Joel Broccoli, partner global consultant at West Monroe, saying, quote, tariffs have been forcing companies' hand to some extent, but this is also a strategic moment to acquire additional scale and strengthen buying power in the footwear market, unquote. They say that Footlocker shares surged 85% to $23.81 per share after the news. After having lost 40% of their value year so far, Dick's Sporting Goods fell by 14%. TD Cowen analyst J.D. Curran said the deal would be a, quote, strategic mistake for Dick's as the company will have an increased investments to further scale the fixed Footlocker. Over the past few years, Footlocker has lost market share to competition as brands such as Nike expand to their direct-to-consumer business. Falling customer visits in malls, where most of the stores are located, have also weighed on sales. Yeah. Footlocker has tried to have a turnaround plan for a couple years. Doesn't seem to be doing great. Now, they also say that Nike has also reversed course under the new CEO, Elliot Hill, leaning back into the relationships with retailers and moving away from D2C or direct-to-consumer. Dick's expects to operate Footlockers as a standalone business unit within its portfolio and maintain the Footlocker brands, according to the statement. Footlocker operates across 20 countries and markets, including North America, Europe, and Asia, and logged worldwide sales of $8 billion in 2024, which is quite pretty penny to say the least. They say last week Skechers also sold for $9.42 billion to private equity company 3G, exiting public markets after 26 years. The popular shoe brand grapples with the impact of steep U.S. tariffs. They said Dick's intends to finance the deal, which expects to close second half of 2025 through a combination of cash on hand and new debt. Which, yeah, Dick's Sporting Goods. I mean, the joke is no one shops at Dick's because they're Dick's. Famously, after what was it? Was it the Sandy Hook massacre? Dick's Sporting Goods CEO publicly, bombastically bragged about destroying $5 million in inventory of AR-15 pattern rifles. And the stock actually went up a little bit, as mentally vacuous as that sounds. The company also said, oh yeah, we're no longer going to have the standard most popular rifle in North America. We're going to take that out of the stores. We're going to get rid of that. We're also going to probably get rid of pistols. We'll just sell wooden shotguns, which are fun for trap shooting, but the least controversial thing. Although, funny enough, Dick's Sporting Goods also owns Stream and River, or whatever crappy store that's called. That one does have actual AR-15s, which is, again, is the most popular rifle type sold in the United States. And Dick's Sporting Goods sells barely any ammunition these days. So all the guys that are into guns, so all the guys in the United States, you really don't shop at Dick's. And truth be told, they're wasting money, I think, having any presence at all in Texas, because a sporting goods store that is 100 million times better than Dick's Sporting Goods is Scheels, which, I mean, Dick's Sporting Goods is, very liberal, based in the Northeast, I believe Pennsylvania specifically. Scheels is employee-owned, headquartered in the great, moderately known state of North Dakota, and they have everything. from dumbbells, bench press to treadmills, out fishing gear, AR-15, even suppressors and some NFA items or items that fall under the NFA Act or the National Firearms Act of 1934. So personally, I've not been to a Dick's Sporting Goods, I believe, since middle school, partially because of their politics and also their poor customer service and I would say lack of, actual lack of variety of stuff inside the store. And it'll be interesting to see if long term this helps the companies out. I think it makes sense to keep the brands separate. I don't know. I mean, the Footlocker has done so bad investing so much money in those standalone stores at malls, which again, for decades were highly profitable. It's a great business idea. It worked awesome. But again, people do not go to the malls as much as they used to. And that's predominantly where they are. So it'll be interesting to see if this is a good long-term relationship. It does make sense to have the increased buying power. They now have a huge amount of negotiation with these large companies like Nike, Puma, and Adidas. Just like you and I, when we go to Costco, we get a better cost per unit when we buy in bulk. Same thing happens with businesses. Sorry. I keep having the joke. When we first started the show, barely anyone subscribed or tuned in, well, maybe family. And I spoke faster than Ben Shapiro and more awkwardly than Joe Biden trying to climb upstairs. But as I slowly but surely gain more subscribers, I've been slightly better at speaking. Some might argue it's just a modicum of improvement, barely anything at all, though technically, statistically speaking, I do think an improvement. So you can go ahead and click that button. I think it'll actually help my speaking skills, so I'll make it through an entire episode someday, speaking perfectly, articulation, and timing. Time shall tell, but if you can click that button again, I'd greatly appreciate it. And let me know in the comments, because as always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.